Alrighty, everybody. Yes, it's that time. The new Prusa Core One L. Is it really large? Is it really a large printer? Is it really as big as Prusa says it is? How do you define large in today's world of 3D printers? That's what we're going to take a look at, because Prusa's come out and said that this thing over here is big. I mean, just look at that. That is big. The Prusa Core One L is what? Big, large, excessively fat, PHAT. I don't know. We're gonna compare some different printers to see if this is the case. And I think Prusa. I'm just gonna give away a spoiler. I think Prusa is a little on the hype train. Seriously, I think Prusa's on the hype train. But we're going to take a look at some other printers to see, is it really as big as it says it is? Is it really large compared to other printers? As far as price, does that come into play? And of course, there's a lot of other variables that come into 3D printing and buying a printer and the claims that they make. So, with that said, I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy, and today we're going to be taking a look at what we just talked about. So, interestingly enough, it ends up that Prusa came up, and of course they ended up saying, "Hey, we've got this big printer here, $1,800 for the printer that is big." There it is, and we're going to take a look at this. We're just going to do. Let me see if I can do this. Can I do this? I can do this. I can do just like this. And so we're going to take this a little bit bigger. So there it is. And let me adjust one more thing. Boom. Okay. I think we're good to go. So what we end up seeing is this here. The Prusa, it's 300 by 300 by 330, which normal printers, especially brought about by Bamboo, the leader in printers, and their printer was 256 cubed. So that's kind of been the industry standard. Before that, you might have seen smaller build areas, but unfortunately, pretty much anybody who's in the know when it comes to 3D printing, 256 cubed is the standard size. That is the standard size printer. If you look at most of the models that are available that you can print, one of the big claims if you get the pun, is that it will print on a 256 cube printer. So big models are cut down to work on 256 cube. So that was pretty much the industry standard. A lot of other companies came into play where they ended up saying, hey, we're going to go towards this same type of thing, and that's going to be the standard, and that's what the standard was for the longest time. Unfortunately, what ended up happening is Prusa says that this is big. This is large. The Core One L, and L stands for large, but is it really large? Is it really big? We're going to take a look at this. Quick little scroll up. We see that we have the Bamboo H2S, which is 340 by 320 by 340. That just recently came out, getting rave reviews. Of course, Bamboo does a really great job on. It's got like 23 different sensors, and it does all. It does everything except take out the trash and do your laundry. With that, that's $1,250. So is the Core One L really large? I don't know. We're going to continue on. Let's go ahead and we'll go up to this one here. This is the baby that I have, the Creality K2 Plus, and this is 350 by 350 by 350. $1,000. $1,000. That's a pretty good deal. I mean, the H2S is a good deal compared to 1,800. But when we're looking at size, because apparently size matters, and we're going to continue on, and we're going to go up here to the Ender 5 Max. Now, granted that the Ender 5 Max is not an enclosed printer, you can get the enclosure. They do have that now. It's a few $100s more, but we're talking build size 400 cube. So again, remember, the Core One is it really all that in a bag of chips? I mean, we're talking the 300 by 300 by 330, and this one does 400 cube. Okay, and it's $750. Yeah, a few $100 more if you want to get the enclosure, but just for the printer itself. We're not talking about multi-material systems, AMF, CFS, or MMU3s. We're just talking the printer itself. Okay, so we're going to continue on, and we're going to go here to the Soval SV08 Max printer, which is 500 by 500 by 500, and that's $1,050. That is I would say that is large for like DIY, hobbyist. We're not even going to get into the Gigastorm by the one company or whatever. You could get into that, but that thing is so huge. I'm looking at something that you could set on a desk or a workbench and be able to do some prints. And with that being said, when we take a look at the Core One, it is a smaller footprint. So you're going to save a little bit of real estate on your desk, but you're going to pay for that real estate to the tune of $1,800, and you're only going to get 300 by 300 by 330 as far as the build area. Where if you spent less money, you could get the Bamboo H2S 1250, K2 Plus $1,000, Ender 5 Max $750, Soval SV08. There it is. I mean, that is what we're looking at. So when we're talking about printers, and are these printers living up to the claims and living up to the hype? And honestly, I have to say that the Core One L, is it really that big? I mean, we can take a look at some of the other things here. Let's take a look and go into a deeper dive into what we end up seeing. So, there's the Core One L. Doesn't come with any additional sheets, doesn't come with the advanced filtration system, doesn't come with an MMU3, which, by the way, is an extra, $400 or so. So $1,800 plus $400. I mean, if you're going to go that route, that's a big chunk of change. Now, I think people that are Prusa fanboys, they're going to love this. And I'm not saying it's a bad printer. I'm absolutely not. This looks like a very good printer. And we're talking about, it says, this is kind of funny. It says huge print volume. Really? Really? Is it really though? Is it really huge? Now we went from large to big, and now we're to huge. It is much more than just a larger Core One. Yeah, added some more features, but honestly, it's not huge. And that's really, I think they're on the hype train. Steel construction, it talks about all that stuff. And so there's the Core One, there's the Core One L. We didn't just scale it up. It really looks like you just scaled it up and you added a few things to it, which pretty much every company does with a new iteration of their machines. There's always new features. So you're just kind of stating the obvious there. Think big, print big, big, 300 by 300 by 330. The Core One's volume doubled. So yeah, in comparison to your own, but I wouldn't call that big, because remember, 256 cubed used to be the standard, or still is the standard pretty much. But now we've gotten into companies that are getting larger machines. They're getting better quality prints, and I think Prusa is a little bit behind the power curve on this. I bet if they went a little bit larger, it would have gone so much easier for them. But new heated bed that heats, all around. We have that, which is really good. Unboxing, everybody unboxes. Flawless precision, final product, maximum speed. Yeah, it does pretty good. Pretty much all of that. Heats up to 60 degrees Celsius in record time. engineered models for all those high temp filaments, proper flex, filament sensor, loading physical thread, okay, all of that. Steel construction, okay. Aluminum, steel construction. Is there really much a difference? Is there going to be so much of a difference between aluminum and steel that it's going to show a difference within your prints? Most printers, probably not. Honestly, it's, I think it came down to a cost thing. And since these are made in Europe versus the ones that are made in China, there might be a thing of where, I don't know, maybe the steel was cheaper than the aluminum. I don't know. Accelerometers, all of this stuff optimized for print farms, which is pretty good. The one thing I'd like is not just a license to use it, and they are security minded. You don't have to be hooked up to their network or their infrastructure, their world, their secret garden to be able to print. So if you want to print offline, you can do that. I totally love Prusa for that. Let's see, offline mode without compromise. Again, talking about some of the good stuff, built on a strong foundation, seamless workflow, all of that good stuff. Apps, colorful objects. The Core One is compatible with the MMU3, which, by the way, is an extra $400 or so. So, with that, I mean, it's, again, 300 by 300 by 330. If we take a look at the K2 Plus, you're looking at 350 cubed, and it's an enclosed printer, and yeah, you can have a CFS up to 16 colors. I think the CFS system is, even if we take a look at the combo with the CFS system, you're looking at a price of $1,200. $1,200. And you have a multi-material system so that you could print 4 different colors versus the Prusa Core One L, which, if we go back up to the top here, we're looking at $1,800 just for the printer itself. The MMU3, let's see, what is there's a Prusa Mini, which is like 180 by 180 cubed or something like that. Parts and accessories. Well, let's just look up MMU3 because I don't want to. I want to say it was like $400. MMU, show all results. For the Core One, and we're just going to say you got that one there. Yeah, so we're looking at $359, $399. So you have the light and the enclosed for MMU enclosed for the Core One, which is for $400. So if we take a look at there, so 360, 400. Yeah, I was pretty much. I'm going to say 400. We'll side on that. So add another $400 to that price there, and you're going to be paying a significant amount of money. When we look at the K2 Plus, you're looking at $1,200. You're getting 350 cubed build area, and yeah, it's a thing. George pops in and says, "Hey, howdy, good morning, good evening. We're talking about printers here and how Prusa ended up saying that the Core One is large, it's big, it's versatile, it is, I don't know, it's a little bit of a hype because when we look at some other printers like the K2 Plus here, which is 350 cubed, and that's with the multi-material system, is $1,200 versus $1,800. So I don't know. Let's take a look at the Bamboo H2S, which recently came out. And people thought that the H2S was a little expensive. But when you look at the Prusa Core One L, it doesn't seem that expensive anymore because it's only $1,250. And that offers you what we end up seeing here, 340 by 320 by 340. So, interesting. And as far as bells and whistles, I would have to say that the Bamboo H2S has more bells and whistles than the Prusa Core One L. 350 degrees Celsius nozzle, 65 degree active chamber heater, which, what does this get up to? Actively heated chamber up to 60. Ooh, okay. Let's go down to the specs here. Filament, electronics, stepper motor, extruder. Max nozzle temp is 290 C. Oops, bamboo's in the lead. Works off of 110, 110 voltage, which is pretty good, which is something that the Prusa ended up talking about, saying, hey, our printer is for 110, so it's lower power requirements, so that's kind of a thing. But for most people that are into 3D printing, I really don't think that saying, oh, I don't really think that's a big draw. I mean, it might be, and if you're doing like a print farm with multiple units, that might come into play. But for the average hobbyist or somebody that has a small print farm, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, I don't think that is going to be a huge concern, because you're just going to up the circuit breaker in your house, and you should be good to go, or wherever, your garage or whatever is probably the easiest place. Now let's take a look at the Ender 5 Max. Ender 5 Max. Now this is an interesting printer because it's $750. It's already gone down $100. It is 400 cubed, and you could get the enclosure. They actually have the enclosure. It's $116. So yeah, you do the math, and even the Ender 5 Max, yeah, you're not going to have all of the stuff that you could do with, let's see if we can take a look at some of the specs on this. 400 cubed, 700 millimeters per second speed, which is super fast. That's really fast. And let's see. I'm wondering, dual Z-axis, beefy frame, yeah, wide range operating temperatures. Which is interesting. As far as professional bed, if they do the temperature and stuff, so Ender 5 Max, 1,000 watts, indicator light, so on and so forth. It doesn't say filament, nozzle temperature 300, bed temperature 100. I'd really like to see some stats as far as the Ender 5 Max and Ender 5 Max enclosure. Accessories. Let's see if we can look this up. Come on. Ender 5 Max enclosure. And Ender 5 Max enclosure, which we'll take a look at here if we take a look at the desktop, $116. And what do we end up seeing with this? Well, that's pretty much it. It doesn't say, well, let's look at some pictures before we do this. Makes it quieter, peace of mind, all of that, yada yada. Constant temperature, doesn't give any stats, and it's kind of just like a polycarbonate or acrylic on there, so doesn't seem to have anything on there regarding as far as temperatures. But again, if we take a look at the Ender 5 Max for $750, and it's 400 cube build area, compared to the Bamboo, or not the Bamboo, compared to the Prusa, it's kind of big. Now, here's a big dog that we're going to take a look at, the Soval SV08 Max, which is 500 cubed, or with the enclosure 500 by 500 by 450 with the enclosure kit. So yeah, there's that, and that is only $1,050. Hell, if we even take a look at the Key Tech X Max 3, we're looking at a large size 325 by 325 by 315, and whatever it is in American money, I can't get it to change from Korean won. So that's less than $1,000. So if we got to do the math here, let's see, 1,166. 000, and we'll divide that by 1420, which is about the exchange rate. You're looking, that's wrong. Seriously, 1,166,000 divided by 1,4 820, and we get $821. And that's an enclosed system there. So 65 degree active heated chamber. So it's a little bit better than what we see with now as far as the quality control and all that stuff. KD Tech has had some problems in its past, but what we're looking at is the claim that, like we looked up here. Oh, wait a second, I didn't want to do that. If we take a look and we see that the Core One is big. Remember, we talked about how it's big, and look how big it is, and that's an advertisement picture saying that the Core One L is big, it's large, it's in charge, but yeah, it's $1,800. It's a little chunk of change, and the build area is 300 by 330. But when you start looking at these different machines, Bamboo H2S 340, 320 by 340. You look at the price. The Creality K2 Plus 350 cubed for $1,000. When you look at the under 5 Max, yeah, it's not enclosed. Add another $116 on there. You're getting a 400 cubed build area. And then if you go with the Soval SV08 Max, you're looking at $1,050 for 500 cubed. Now, really, this begs the question: Is it really that big? Is it really large? Is it huge according to your own website? I don't think so. I think they're playing a little bit of the hype here, and honestly, Prusa is an awesome company. Totally awesome. I think they're a half step behind, and I think they should have went bigger. It's go big or go home is what it comes down to, I think, in my opinion. And coming out and saying that you have the L stands for large, I don't know. Is it really that large? I mean, if you look at the Prusa XL, that is, what was the build area on that? It was like 360 cubed. So that's their XL, extra large, is 360. But that is such an odd device, and it's just so huge, and it's like $2,300 for just one head on their extruder, and that comes assembled, and it doesn't even have the enclosure kit. If you throw an enclosure kit on there, now you're going to be bumping, let's see, $2,800, and I'm not kidding you. This is, whoo! Look at that. The XL, one extruder head with an enclosure kit. It doesn't come assembled. It comes as a kit. You're looking at almost $3,000. Import duties already included. Oh, man. That is just, and let's say you want to go to 2 extruders. I mean, let's take a look and see what that comes out to. It's going to be, almost $3,400 for 2 heads, but you get 2 heads. So, it's just it's kind of hard for me to swallow $1,800 for 300 by 300 by whatever it is, the 340. I just don't, or 330. I don't think I could justify that, especially with all the different options out there. Now, granted, Prusa is a really good company. George pops up and says, also with Prusa, you really pay for the name. Not saying they aren't good printers, but the price is high. Yeah, the price, $1,800. Oh, it is a bit high. I mean, $1,800, and that's just for the printer. I mean, hell, when you go back for the K2 Plus, and you go for the combo with a multi-material system that can print 4 filaments or 4 different colors or a combination of both, you're looking at $1,200. So a $600 difference. And we got Black Friday deals are coming up here. It's November, you're going to have Thanksgiving, you're going to have Black Friday, you're going to have, the Monday, whatever sales that they got going on. So you can expect Probably even more sales on a lot of these things. Whereas Prusa's come out with a Core One L, which I don't think is as big as they think it is compared to other companies. Uh, their stuff is going to be, they're coming out right at the time of these big sales. And I don't think there's going to be a huge discount on prices like you're going to see with these other companies. And that's just for the fact of where they're made. They're made in Europe, and the cost of goods and materials and services and labor and all that stuff is a little bit more than what you would find in China. So it's just the nature of the beast. I can't hate on them for that. It is what it is. But like George says, they do have incredible products. But for $1,800, I would fully expect a multi-material unit along with that for $1,800, especially when you can get the K2 Plus for $1,200. If you got the Bamboo H2S, let's take a look at that. The Bamboo H2S that we see there for $1,250, and that's just for the machine itself. But if you do with their multi-material system, the AMS2, now you're looking at $1,500, which is still $300 cheaper than the Prusa Core One L, and you're getting a 340 by 320 by 340 compared to the Prusa. It's just not 300 by 300 by 330. Yeah. Again, Prusa is a great company, but I don't think it's large. I don't think it's big. Large and big. Even on their own thing, it talks about the little blog thing that they had that it says it's huge. It's like, really? I don't think it's as. Again, I'll take a look at this. If I can get this going. Huge print volume. Really? And we're not even talking about the Gigastorm or anything like that, because that can't sit on a desk. So that's kind of the thing we're looking at here. Larger, big. I just think big, print big. I really just don't think it qualifies as being as big as they say it is. You just got so many different options here when it comes to printers, and yeah, I just don't think that build size is large. I don't think it's big. With 256Q being the standard that it was for the longest time, you're looking at 300 by 330. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger, but it's not large. It's not huge. It's not, especially compared to all these other printers that are, I would say the main contender is the Bamboo H2S. And if you've got the Bamboo H2S, you've got larger, definitely larger than the Core One L, and it's cheaper, and you could probably get a multi-material system, with it, and that's only what did that come out to? $1,500. So you're going to save $300. Let me see if we can do this. And boom, basically that's what we're ended up doing there. I don't think that the Prusa is going to be everything that the Bamboo H2S does, price-wise, or as far as all the bells and whistles that come along with H2S. And that's with a multi-material system versus the Core 1L, which is by itself. And if you did want the MMU3, that's another $400, $360 to $400. So really, is it worth the price? Is it something that we're going to be doing? I don't think so. And unfortunately, I think Prusa is kind of on the hype train on this. And I think that they're seeing that they're behind the power curve. So if we hype this, hopefully we can sell it. But with so many different systems out there and companies that are offering larger printers, specifically the Bamboo H2S, which I'm seriously thinking about getting, yeah, I don't know. George says, I can cut my prints and assemble. And that's what the majority of people have been doing for a long time. But in comparison to other companies and their machines that have gone bigger because that's what the masses want, I think Prusa's a day late and a dollar short when it comes to this. Well, if you buy the Prusa, it's $1,800, so you're going to be $1 short or two on that. So yeah, it's just kind of an interesting thing. I wanted to go over that. And yeah, Prusa is a great company. I considered getting the Prusa XL, but the price was just so far out there. I considered getting the Core One, but the build area on that is small. And then when I heard that they were going to have a Core One L, when I heard the rumors about that, I was like, oh, now we could be getting somewhere. Because I was fully expecting 350 cube. But no. And it's I don't know. It just seems too much money, in my opinion. Now I haven't had a Prusa product, so I can't jump on the Prusa, fanboy train or whatever. I'm just not there. I can't do that. Of course, I don't do that with pretty much anything. I like my Creality K2 Plus, but I will tell you that there are better systems out there than the K2 Plus. For example, the H2S from Bamboo. It is what it is, but I just don't want people to kind of get lost in the hype and saying, oh, this thing is big, it's huge. And really, compared to other printers and what they offer, and especially their prices is big. The price is large for the Core One L, but it's the build area, not so much. Yeah, it is what it is. So anyway, what do you think about that? What do you think about the Prusa Core One L? Are they a day late and a dollar short with their 300 by 300 by 3? What was it, 330? 300, or is it 300 by 300 by 330 mil, saying that is large, it is huge, it is big. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. That's why you do comparison shopping. That's why you should check these things out. And I'm not sponsored by Creality. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I bought my K2 Plus with my own money. I would love to review machines, but still, I would have the common sense to say, hey, let's look at this and see what it really is. Is it really what it is? And I think Prusa's kind of lost. They threw out a little bit too much hype, and they can do that. That's their prerogative to do that. But I just don't see that being I don't see a lot of bite in that. It's especially you just do a cursory search of large scale 3D printers, and you'll find, whoa, holy crow, this is less expensive than this, and this is $1,800, and that's just the printer. And then, but I could do this with a multi-material system or an AMS2 Pro heating, dialing, whatever the Bamboo filament thing does, heating and drying. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And then chamber temperature, hot end, how high that can go up. There's other ones that go up higher. Not that that's a thing, but it depends on what you're printing. So not everybody's going to need the hottest hot end on the market. Same thing with the chamber area, heated chamber. K2 Plus. In all honesty, I don't need the K2 Plus with an enclosed system because I'm pretty much just printing PLA right now. But my thing was I wanted the most bells and whistles for the money. I wanted a lot of value for the money that I was giving. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, I don't think the Core One L there's not enough there, in my opinion. So, hey, we got Zombie Hunter. Hey, how you doing? Glad I haven't seen you around in a bit. Yeah, we're just finishing up on the video where we're talking about the Prusa Core One L. Thank you for the like. The Core One L, which is $1,800, and it's a 300 by 300 by 330 build area. And Prusa says it's big. It's, think big, print big. Some of the stuff that we looked over says it's huge. But when we looked over a number of different printers, it really wasn't. And it's big in price, because like we talked about, it is big in price. But if you look at, some of the things that we looked at here, you get bigger build areas, sometimes a lot lower prices, and then you got some that are, like the Soval 08. It's, I don't know, for $1,800, I just don't see it. Honestly, I don't see it. I don't see, the only way that I could see jumping onto the Prusa bandwagon is if I was a Prusa fanboy. And I just don't see that. Yeah, Zombie Hunter says, what about the under 5 backs, 400 cubed for 1,000 Australian dollars? Yeah, I mean, even that right there. And you're saving $800. Get an enclosure system, which is $116 USD, and you're still far below. Granted, there's not as many bells and whistles on the under 5 backs as there is with the Prusa Core One L, but if you're just talking size, and apparently size matters, it's not as big as they think it is, or as they're promoting it to be. And I just, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Do you hear that? It means my print's done. I'm gonna hold on. Let me go get my print. I want to show you this. Just did a little print. Did a little print. So we did a little snow speeder card that we got there. So this is, if I'm not mistaken, Galactic Armory. And so we did a little snow speeder. So I wanted to print this out and see how that came out. And it looks like it did pretty good. It did like regular supports, because it did have some overhangs. Had a little bit of a, dang it, had a little bit of an edge. I should have cleaned my build plate, and I didn't. I was just like, screw it. But Zombie Hunter says, if you're going to buy big, you might as well go 350 or bigger, and so many printers that are bigger than the Prusa for way less money. Yeah, I totally agree with you. George ends up saying, I'll say one thing. I've heard good things about Prusa customer service, so I guess that is 1 point for them. That is true. The customer service with Prusa is pretty good compared to other companies. And even, I have the Creality K2 Plus, and if you read the blogs and the posts and stuff, their customer support can be good, can be bad. It definitely needs help, but the same could be said. Some people have had some bad experiences with Bamboo, other companies, but for the most part, Prusa's got some good customer service. And I think that that is definitely something that you need to have, is good customer service. So, yeah, that is a point in their thing. Yeah, little card came out pretty good, except for one area. And again, it just kind of a little, you can see how that raised up on there. This is PLA. Is it supposed to? Yeah, it raised up a little bit. You can see how that how it didn't adhere right, and that's because the print bed, the bed I didn't clean it. I just the last print that I did, which is a lithophane, um, I didn't clean the bed at all, and I haven't cleaned the bed. I just kept adding more glue stick, and I guess that's what you get when you do that. So we're gonna see how this turns out. I just did this in the PLA. I'll have to get that one for my tree. Yeah. And Zombie Hunter says, I think Prusa are way off with their pricing to compete with other companies. Honestly, and I can understand because they don't have they just don't have the cheap prices that Chinese companies have, or the reduced labor, or things like that. So that comes into play. I should have used some nippers on these. These are coming off, but they're kind of tearing off a little bit because they're not like, they could have been made a little bit better. So I should have just used, do I have nippers somewhere? Somewhere over the rainbow. Oh, I know where I got some. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Probably need to get some desk side cutters, so that way I can do that. Yeah, these definitely didn't have like the little easy snap off area. They're just kind of straight on there. But Galactic Armory is pretty good. They got some good stuff, and for the $15 a month, there's some decent models on there. So Zombie Hunter says use nail clippers. Yeah. Do I have nail clippers? Oh, I think I do. Do I? I can get some nail clippers too. That's a good idea. Nail clippers. So yeah, and since I'm kind of in the market for another printer, I'm thinking about doing that. I saved up some nickels and some birthday money. I've got like $500 that I got in birthday money, so we got that, and I'm kind of looking for a second printer, but it's not going to be the Core One. I'll tell you that right now. That it's just not. No. 9. None. Zip 0. The Core 1L large is just not something that I would get. Just based on the price alone. The price is it's just too much. And it's just not enough bells and whistles, especially when you have something like the H2S and all of the stuff that it can do. And yeah, customer service is a little rough with Bamboo. I've heard some horror stories. And I think if Chinese companies ended up having like a dedicated customer service, either have an office in the United States or have people that have a good command of the English language or whatever language that they're dealing in, yeah, they could do a lot better. But I don't know. Interesting. So. Yeah, seriously thinking about getting another printer because eventually, like I said, I want to be doing some cosplay stuff. So we'll be doing that. But I'm also waiting for Galactic Armory to do their form fitter program, which is kind of like ArmorSmith. So for the people that don't know, you can have like an suit of armor, and it's a model in an STL, and then you could print that out on your 3D printer. With that, they don't have different sizes like small, medium, and large armor sizes. So you have to scale the armor. And usually I would say most armor is scaled around maybe 5'7", 5'8". I'm 6'2" at 260, so things would, and my head's a little bit bigger, imagine that. So things would need to get scaled. And their new form-fitting program that they're working on is something that is not out yet. And it looks like a vast improvement from the ArmorSmith program, which I guess isn't being supported anymore. And so I'm just going to hold off and wait until that form fitter is done. And that's released now by that. Hopefully it will not be a subscription service. Holy crow, I hate subscription services. I'm old school of, hey, buy the program, it's yours. And matter of fact, the software that we're using right now is Ecamm Live for my Mac, and I bought it a long time ago when you could actually buy a lifetime license for the pro. In other words, you have the program for life, and now it's a subscription service, and the price is just like, holy crow, how can I get it that people try to make money, but I think this subscription stuff has just gone a little bit too far. And, unfortunately it is what it is. But I don't know. I'm an old guy complaining about everything. Don't get me started on politics. But now I'll just kind of complain about 3D printing stuff. And it is what it is. Now I got to figure out how this goes together, because I'm not sure. That's one thing. I made a card, printed out a card for my daughter, and it was the at Walker Star Wars, and there was no instructions on how does this go together. Go like that. I think so. Maybe. I think this goes into the side there. It's going to have to glue it, I think, because it's not like form fit, or maybe it does. Oh, it kind of does. There it goes. Look at that. Comes out pretty good, except for that little piece right there, kind of jacked up. That was my stomach. Terribly hungry. Man, it's like. And then I got some other pieces on here. Where did these go? That goes there, and it'll fit on a thing like that. So that's kind of cool. But then it's got this other stuff on here. I don't know where this other stuff goes. I got these few other parts on here. Seriously. What do I need to take a look at? I'm looking for the download for shared files. Snowspeeder kick card. And here's what it's supposed to look like. So there it is. But I'm not entirely sure where those two other small pieces go. So you have like that piece right there, you got that one, and then that one there. I'm not sure where those are supposed to go. Well, wait a second. I think I do. Okay. So we got the little piece on the back, which is that one there. But where's the other pieces go? I'm not sure where those two pieces go right there. So that little gray piece there goes in that hole that's right there. But I'm not sure where these tiny little pieces, these little buggers go. Oh, yeah, I do. I found it. It goes on the back. Does it go that way? No, I think it goes right on the back there. So you got that hole that's right there. And I think this goes in as a flap. Yeah, so there it is. So you got the little flaps on there. So, okay. Hey, that's kind of cool. I like that. So anyway, yeah, cool little thing. I'll just have to take that one part and put it in some hot water and bend it back up, and we should be good to go. But that is our snow speeder from Galactic Armory. It turned out pretty good. I know that bottom piece there, I just soaked that in some hot water, which, by the way, it ends up, matter of fact, I think it was therapist that told me about that. I had made one of the ripper masks, and it was too narrow because I didn't measure quite the way I should. And so it ended up that was a little bit too narrow. I think it was like 150 and it needed to be like 170. He said just get some really hot tap water. So I put it up as hot as I could and then submerged it into a bowl, and that PLA just bend, and it was holy crow. So yeah, it was pretty incredible on the amount of flexibility that I had on that. So kudos to Ferrithus for filling me in on that trick there. So anyway, yeah. We did a couple of things. We talked about how the Prusa Core One L, is it really, really a large printer? Seriously, really? Compared to other printers, again, this is kind of the wrap up. Bamboo H2S, which is, it's, 340 by 320 by 430, and it's only $1,250. Again, we'll just kind of do a quick little recap there. Yeah, there it is, 300 by 300 by 330, and then the Bamboo H2S, which is the one I'm thinking about getting, it's $1,250, and that's 340 by 320 by 340. Honestly, the Bamboo H2S is the one that I'm thinking about getting now. There's mine right there, the Creality K2 Plus 350 cubed. It's for $1,000, so that is tempting in and of itself right there, just to have a second printer. And then Ender 5 Max, $750. I mean, that's a significant no enclosure. Or I could go with the SV08 Max for $1,000, basically $1,050 for 500 cubed build area. So many different options for basically desktop workbench type of large build areas, and I just don't think the Core One L is as big as they say it is, and that's what we ended up looking at. The price is large, the price is big, and in some cases people might say that the price is huge, but compared to these other printers, honestly, in my own opinion, to get a second printer, I'm leaning more and more towards the Bamboo H2S. But with that, just looking at this little guy here, when we printed out this kit card from Galactic Armory, there's supposed to be some colors on here. I'm thinking about getting a machine that has multi-heads on it. And those still haven't come out yet, except for, what is it, the Snapmaker U1 or whatever it is. That one came out. What is that? Snapmaker U1. I think that's it. Netventive says, if you already have the K2 Plus and need an additional printer, why not get another K2 Plus? You can share all the printer parts. And yeah, that was my thought. And honestly, I was about this close to getting another K2 Plus because you can end up getting, again, repair parts. That made total sense to me. And that's where I had initially been leaning, because I don't have to buy two different types of parts, yada, 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 all that. You know, I can buy some hot ends, you know, whatever it is that I need, I'll just buy two of, and then I'm good to go. And the price isn't that bad either. But, you know, wow. Now it's getting the Bamboo H2S. I mean, that is very, very tempting. And so that's why it's ahead of the K2 Plus. You know, and for $12.50, I can get the H2S with the AMS2 on there. But again, yeah, repair parts, so on and so forth. But as far as doing multi-material systems, let's take a look at this here. This is the Snapmaker U1, which was $1,000. Now it's $850, and you have multi-heads, 4 multi-heads, so you can reduce the amount of waste or purge or poop that you have. 4 tool heads, preloaded, preheated materials, cuts waiting time by 5 seconds by swapping tool heads, eliminates remaining materials, smart calibration, Core XY, 500 millimeters per second top speed. But the build area is 270 by 270 by 270. But even, I mean, 270 by 270 by 270, that's bigger than the standard 256 cube. Holy crow. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I'm not really into the multi-material printing, but a multi-head system would be good, but I don't really do a lot of that, but I might. Skula says, Creality is working on a multi-head printer. Really? Ooh. Maybe that's why I'm kind of waiting a little bit. Netventive says, multi-materials, multi-headache. They scares me. Yeah, it could be. It could be. But it ends up that you have the index, Bondtech in their index coil hot end. That looks super impressive. That looks really impressive. And it's minimal parts. Again, induction heating with the filament, which cuts it down to like next to nothing. And as far as like PLA, kind of like the Snapmaker U1, you would be able to have multiple heads on a system. And could you imagine having something like, and of course they're talking about not building a printer themselves, you know, Bondtech with their index system, but they're talking about maybe making it a kit, working with other companies to have that on their printers. Could you imagine something like an SV08, 500 cube build area with like 8, 10 heads on it? But like Netventive says, you know, the more moving parts, the more apt it is to break. But then again, I don't know. You could also look at it the other way around, is that if one head goes down, you have 4 or 5 or 6, 7, 8 more heads that you could use. But are you going to do that much printing with different colors or different materials? Basically, I think it comes down to the number of colors, because I think that's the thing. The color thing, and with purging, and even with the K2 Plus with the CFS system on there, you're going to get a lot of poop. You're going to get some purge. But with these multi-head systems, especially with that index, wow, that's going to cut down times crazy. Yeah. Like it says, index is a must for multi-material. And that's why I'm kind of like, I don't really need it. Well, I don't really need anything. I don't really need another printer. I want another printer. But yeah, the index, I think that is going to be the next game changer. And I think after that, I don't really think there's going to be any huge advancements in 3D printing past coil induction heating with the multi-head system. It's going to have to take a lot to really make people go, wow. I think Bamboo is the pinnacle. Bamboo is like the Apple of the 3D printing world. Prusa is like the Samsung. Well, no, I wouldn't say Samsung. Yeah, I don't know what Prusa would be. What would be a good analogy for that? But they're up on the top there too. But I still think they're like a half step behind. Skua says, wait for form next. Yeah, I think I'm going to. But then you've got the holidays. When is form next? When is that? I have no clue. Let's see. When is form next? It'll be November 18th to the 21st in Frankfurt, Germany. Ooh. So we could get some good news out of that. Skua says, one head for supports, 4 colors in another material. Right? Yeah. You could always do the PLA, the PETG, or vice versa, and then have your different colors. That would be pretty darn good, And even though you do your supports or your interface layers in like PETG, if you're doing PLA or vice versa, you're still going to save a lot of time because you have that dedicated head. So there's not going to be the purging and the pooping and the whole 9 yards, stuff like that. Zombie comes up and he says, it's funny how Bamboo is basically a baby compared to other companies, but Bamboo just came in and took over. Yeah, I mean, Prusa's been around a while, but Bamboo came in with guns blazing, and they really they went big and they went for it, and they solidified themselves as a company, and especially with the quality of the prints that they have. I remember my first experience with 3D printing was back when you had to, level it with a piece of paper and you're doing all kinds of weird stuff. Actually, it was when I was working in the state of Colorado as part of a trades program for rehabilitation in prisons. And they used 3D printing. And so inmates would use 3D printers to print stuff for businesses that would do work with the prisons. They paid the inmates, and of course they learned a trade, which is 3D printing and so on and so forth. But those old machines were, oh man, they were crazy old. But once, I kind of saw that is going to be a thing. But now it's just plug and play. It's basically like a microwave. Now it's not uncommon to get a printer 10 and 15 minutes out of the box you're printing, or 5 minutes out of the box you're printing. Depends on how fast you are. But the profiles are set. Everything is getting solidified as far as ease of use. You really don't have to know much these days to be able to get good prints off a printer because we've advanced so far. So, Skua says, Prusa is John Deere. I think you're right. That's a good analogy. I like that. We all love dedicated head. Yes, we do. Dedicated hot end. I think you misspoke there. Zombie Hunter says, my first printer was an Ender 3 back in the day. Yep. It's amazing how far all of these printers have come these days. But yeah, I think Bamboo is the Apple of the 3D printing world. And Skua says Prusa is the John Deere of the printing world, 3D printing world, which I think is spot on. That totally nails it. And they're still a half step short, in my opinion. They're a great company. I know a guy who has an XL. I know, the MKS and stuff like that. He's got those, and he loves it. He loves them. They're great printers. He ended up getting the Bamboo back when it was the X1C or whatever, and he was like, yeah, maybe. And he's like, nobody can beat Prusa. And then he got the Bamboo, and it's like, hey, these are pretty damn good. So, but so many companies are coming along, and the advancements are just huge. So really, I don't know. It's just crazy. Zombie says, just in the last 5 years, 3D printing has come so far. That's absolutely true. It has. Skua says, my first was a Prusa MK1 kit. Now I have an Anycubic Max and a Soval SV08 waiting for an index. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, could you imagine that SV08 with index? Ooh, that would be hot. That would be hot. And especially if they can make it a user-friendly kit, or is Soval going to be working with Index, and are they going to make a dedicated machine where Index provides the hot ends and so on, the induction coil heating ends, and then Soval will actually make a printer, or is it just going to be a kit that you're going to be able to put on any printer? They would have to have some instructions on how to do that. I do know that Bondtech, with their index system, is not going to make their own printer. I've heard that in a number of interviews, and they're like, yeah, that's not us. That's not where we're at right now. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, that Form Next is November 18th through the 21st, which is this month. So yeah, that'll be really interesting to take a look at. We'll have to keep our eyes and ears peeled and see what comes out on that. And but then you've got the Black Friday sale, and then the following Monday sale, digital whatever Monday that is after Thanksgiving sale that they got going on. And that is going to be impressive, I think. So many sales, and the prices have come down. Let's see. Do we got any other comments? Nope, that was it. Remember when we heard about the tariff wars and the tariffs, the United States was going to raise tariffs because other countries had higher tariffs and it wasn't equal. We thought that 3D printers were going to be, priced, an additional 25, 50%, 100% because of the trade wars and tariffs and all that going back and forth between China and the United States. Actually, we've seen printers going down in price. So, I don't know. It's a good deal for us hobbyists and 3D printer people. Hyper-V 3D, welcome to the show. Cyber Monday, that's it. Thank you for that. I knew it was something Digital Monday, I don't know, ones and zero Monday, something. It's Cyber Monday. So many sales are popping up, and you can imagine the prices of, the K2 Plus going down. Just the printer itself is $1,000. And, yeah, Bamboo H2S, are we going to see a price drop come, for the holiday sales, Thanksgiving, Cyber Monday, Christmas time, getting rared up and ready to go. Try to push that product, cut those prices, give discounts, so you can make room for new models next year that come out. So, Bamboo older printers have dropped a lot. Yeah. So if we're talking about printers, like in their the P series, and they have their P2S, which is a great printer, by the way. 256 cubed, price is going to be around $700, but that still not for sale in the United States yet. But good Lord, seriously? P series, P1S is, holy crow. Nope, not that one. That one. P2S, $400. P1S, $400. AMS2 Pro is now compatible with P1S. And if you get it with that, $619. Prices have come down. Definitely have come down. Holy crow. You can pick up some good printers. I mean, with all that new stuff coming out, they're older. Again, yeah, like you said, those older models are dropping. But still, with the Terraforms, and like everybody else, thought, oh, 3D printing is going to go through the roof now. Actually, we've seen the opposite. Prices are going down. Sure, the initial models, when they first come out, are expensive. But shortly after, we're seeing, some drops in prices. So that's good for us, you know. George says, I'm kind of looking forward to what new types of filament will be shown. Yeah, there's that. Hyper-V says they have to compete to an extent with Elegoo Centuri Carbon. That's another inexpensive printer if you want to dip your toe into the 3D printing world. Crazy inexpensive. I mean, who would have thought that you would be able to buy that high quality of a printer for that price? I don't know if it's like the drug pusher analogy where you give a sample. Here's your first. Here, try meth and try it once, and then you're hooked for life. Maybe that's it. Just to try to get you within their ecosystem to sell you their filament, the RFID tags and whatever else, like other companies do. So it's, you always buy from us. We'll give you a cheap printer, and then you always buy from us. I think that's part of that right there. Yeah, pretty crazy. Skua says, I'm really printing TPU and foamy material all the year, minus some PLA figures for the kids. Really? I haven't printed any TPU. I haven't done any. But then again, I don't have any need to. I don't know. And as far as foamy material, I don't know. But when I get into doing more cosplay stuff, maybe I will, because I have seen some videos on people doing cosplay, and instead of doing like armor pieces with PLA or PETG, I don't know why you'd want to do PETG. It just seems a little bit more expensive, an added expense. But I've seen some videos where they do like TPU for armor and chest pieces, so it molds and folds and way more comfortable, form-fitting. There's that comes into play, so that has kind of piqued my interest. With the K2 Plus, it does, as far as I know, it doesn't work well with TPU, but I have seen where somebody has bought some aftermarket gears and put it into the hot end, and it works great. They're like all metal gears. And I don't know what the deal is with that, but people have had great success with printing TPU. And then there's some other people that printed TPUs able to dial that in. But that's interesting, yeah. Zombie says, here in Australia, the P1P and X1C are sold out. Wow. Hyper says, I paid that for my first Ender 3 6 years ago. Isn't that wild? Zombie Hunter says, I printed TPU for my R2's wheels. Wow. Skua says, I'll do armor all the time. I'm getting more into it. I started dipping my toe into the cosplay stuff. And if you've seen some of my previous videos, doing the Ripper mask, Psycho helmet, did that. And then the Borderlands rifle, which I finished up. And let me show you that, because that came out really good. I was really happy with that. And let me get to that. And then this. So there is the Psycho mask that I ended up doing. And that came out really nice. We got rust on there, the whole 9 yards. And then we have the rifle that came out, and this is off of the printable site, and we did, the colors and all of that with the cartoon cell shading type stuff, and that came out really good. So I was super happy with that. Yeah. So really, really happy with all of that. Yeah. Came out really good. So I need to do the magazine. But yeah, the helmet came out great. All of this kind of matches, and we're going to continue working on this. Got some other clothing, so eventually here in Korea, I'm going to eventually go to hopefully a cosplay event or something like that, and be able to do the Borderlands, whole Borderlands thing. So let me go ahead and put this back. But yeah, pretty happy with that. But and then I'm also considering doing not considering. I did the helmet for the what was it? I kind of put this out. This a little bit too late. The Doom Eternal Slayer. I did the helmet for that, and then I got on the kick of doing this other stuff here with the Borderlands, and then I just haven't got to processing because I'm lazy. So yeah, it turned out pretty nice. They worked good. Yeah, I was pretty happy with them. Again, the first time kind of doing cell painting, so that was kind of a cool little process to do. I like that. Guess we can get rid of that picture there. Zombie says, Steve, I have a question for you. Why don't you reach out to Creality for an Ender 5 Max and say you have 51,000 subs on YouTube? They may send it to you for nothing. That's an idea. And, funny story that I'm retired here in Korea. I live in Korea. And, of course, YouTube reaches around the world. I get multiple offers from multiple companies on, hey, would you like to review this product? And 3D printers, some of them are known, some of them are not, and it's like, hell yeah, I would love to do that. ADX 5, whichever company that was, they ended up sending me an email, and I was like, of course, I would love to do a review, see if it lives up to the claims, deep dive into that, and just never hear from them. I get emails of companies that want me to review laser engravers. And I don't know if it's just like a mass mailing and then, I don't know, they pick from a hat or something, or maybe people that have more subs and views and things like that. But I've seen people get reviews from these companies that have less subs and less overall views than me. So I don't know what's going on with that. I would love to do that. I think I could still remain objective if somebody sent me a printer and says, hey, do this review, and of course, tell them, hey, if it, the good, the bad, and the indifferent, I'm going to let people know. But if it works as advertised, then, I'll say that. But yeah, and I've filled out forms or applications for like Creality, Bamboo. I sent them for the influencer Whoosy thing and some other companies, and haven't heard anything back from any of them. So I don't know what the deal is. I have gotten some off-brand Chinese 3D printers or printer companies that have contacted me and said, hey, you need to we would like you to do a review for us on our product. Give us a good review, and then you can keep the product. We'll pay you for the review or whatever. But it was like, you have to give a good review. And it's like, maybe there's a little translation error here, but I in my email responses, I say, well, if the product lives up to its claims, I'll let everybody know. But if there's problems with it, everybody's going to know. I'm not going to make only a good review. That's just not how it works. There's every product has some pros and cons. And so I put it in a nice civil manner of that, hey, I do balanced reviews. There's pros and there's cons. And if the product has problems or doesn't live up to its claims, I'll let people know. And then those companies just never contact me again. But these are off-brand companies that you've never heard of. So I don't know. It's probably a thing. But I would love to do that. Let's see. I should probably reach out to him again. Hyper-V says, lived in Yongsan and Chuncheon. Loved Korea. I was in Chuncheon. You're talking about up north. Northeast? Chuncheon, Camp Page area with, what is it, university? Kyungbuk University up there. That's actually where I taught conversational English while I was in the military a long, long time ago, like 1988. But yeah, been to Chuncheon. When we came back to Korea, we've been here 3 years now. And when we came back, we took a road trip to go up to Chuncheon because I wanted to see what the area was like. The military base is gone. Everything is flattened. They were going to rebuild on it, but unfortunately, there's some environmental hazards because of all the crap that the military did, kind of like dumping oil down the drain, and I mean, kind of some bad stuff. But the ROC military did the same thing. I remember seeing the ROC military guys pouring drums, like 50-gallon drums of oil down drains and off into the ground and stuff like that. So yeah, all of that is fenced off. They can't do anything as far as building. And then there's also, they can't build on it because of some ancient artifacts that they ended up finding. So there's two things against it, why they can't build on that area. It's just totally fenced off. Everything has been scraped to the ground, and Camp Page is no longer there. So that's kind of a little disheartening, a little bit, because I wanted to go back and see what they made it into. It was supposed to be a park or whatever. But yeah, it was Yongsan, 121 Hospital. Of course, that's where the main military was for the United States Forces Korea Command. That has all moved down to Camp Humphreys, Korea, which is close to where I live. So, yeah, pretty small world. Cool. Skua says, Flash Forge sends machines for review very easy, and message Soval too. You can take some interesting machines. I think I'll do that. That's some good advice. You and Zombie, I'll take that advice and reach out to these companies again. I don't know, I'll use Grok or Chat GPT to fine tune an email and throw out some stuff and see if I can do some reviews, because I really would like to do some fair and balanced reviews. There's a lot of companies that I probably wouldn't do reviews for. One of those companies was Airy One and their X400. They're huge. It was on Kickstarter, and seeing their Kickstarter and seeing all the information they were putting out, and it was like, yeah, that's not going to be a thing. That's going to be a very big problem. And yet we got glowing reviews from a number of supposedly well-respected YouTubers and influencers. And then after the X400, after that Kickstarter closed, holy crap, you never saw that thing ever again. Ever. There's problems now. People, if you go back and you look at the Airy One X400, so many people dropped their pledges. I did a video on that. It was crazy. I've never seen so many drops of pledges than the X400 for the Airy One. And again, they lied on their website. They had a couple other machines that were just absolute crap. They had fake reviews, which I pointed out in previous videos that I did. They used stock video, or not stock videos, but stock pictures of people that obviously were not real people. If you lie about such things, about, tennis shoe inserts that are 3D printed, saying, oh, these are the best things ever. And then it's like, wait a second. The gender is wrong. The picture is of a guy. And by the way, the picture is a stock photo of a model. Yeah, that's not a real person. And then that aired. And then Airy One took that stuff off their website. And they took off a machine that was horrible as well. And their past two 3D printers were just trash. There was absolute trash. And then you're trying to tell me they had a come to Jesus moment where suddenly now they have two failed machines they have two machines, 3D printer machines, bed slingers. One of them had like 3 reviews on it. The other one had 0 reviews, and it was total trash. But suddenly they had to come to Jesus, and suddenly they saw the light. the heavens opened up and suddenly they infused a ton of money to make the X400 and to make it the best, better than bamboo, for industrial use, whatever. Yeah, no. And since that has been done, you can't find anybody that is using the X400. But some of the X400 got some rave reviews. That pissed me off. Holy crow, that pissed me off. There's obvious problems. Let me go on a rant here. The X400, an enclosed system, super, super heavy. You're going to pay tons in shipping and whatever. It's just saying there are 3D printed parts, which is fine if you're Prusa, but if you're not, yeah, it just looked janky. And with all of the stuff that One was saying about the X400, it's like, hey, we got this enclosed system, but it didn't have an enclosed heater. And then it was like, well, people were complaining, you can't print all of these other exotic filaments without an active heated chamber. Then they backpedaled, and then some of the power requirements, people that were smarter than me, electrical engineers, are saying, yeah, this doesn't make sense. They have problems with that. Their Facebook group, the guy that was running that, the admin, was a total tool. Yeah, Zombie says I have 20 minutes for a rant. Okay, I'll try to circle it up and condense it. Long story short, it ends up that One came back and said to the X400 people on their Kickstarter, hey, we are going to offer a heater, but it's going to be at an additional price, and it's not going to be built into the heater. You need to buy it and then add it in yourself, but we're doing that as a favor to you because some people might not want the heater. No. If there are certain qualifications and certifications that you have to have if you have a heater in there, and whether the components within that printer can stand up to that active heated chamber. Well, they didn't want to pay the money for the additional certifications for that, so they just left the printer as it is and offered you an additional heater that you put in yourself so they wouldn't have to pay for the certifications, which means that they didn't even test if those components could withstand the heat of an actively heated chamber. I brought that up, and then it was like I killed a baby or something. They started ganging up on me. How dare you, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, tell me I'm wrong. Prove it. Show me the certifications that all of the components in this enclosed system that you say can handle the heat, show me the proof that it can handle those temperatures. And why are you selling the heater separate? Why can't you put it in? Especially for the exorbitant prices they had. Yeah, they could do. So anyway, long story short, the X400 was a failed printer system. And usually, if you've got a really good printer, you will have reviewers that will review it. You have people like Fohammer and a number of others where they review a product and then they're like, wow, this is incredible. And then they continue to use it. That's real. That's real. But when you have influencers that are reviewing printers and saying, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread, 400 cube or 450 cube printer, oh, it's industrial, it's blah, blah, blah. And then you never see it again in any of their videos. It's not even on the shelf in the background. What does that tell you? I don't know. So that's a rant. That's a rant. Zombie says, I'm not a fan of Kickstarters from companies. I don't know. Bamboo did the Kickstarter thing. It depends on the company. And when I looked into One and saw, obviously I'm going to look at the company and what they've done in the past. And if you've got a series of small printers and you've been getting better and better over time, and now you're going boom into the prosumer, that between hobbyist and industrial, you're going to fill that niche. Being the prosumer, looking at their past machines, they were trash, absolutely trash. Yeah, people that were like, we can't even get customer support. They made the printer and basically didn't support it. And then they lied with reviews and stuff like that I pointed out. It was just absolutely insane. So yeah, I don't trust those Kickstarters. But yeah, you got to do your due diligence. You really do. because otherwise you'll have companies that will, there's a number of Kickstarters that, where companies just folded. And Airy One is one of those. Now, Airy One does a lot of filament. Maybe they're a great filament company. But even then, I don't see a lot of Airy One filament out there with a lot of people saying, hey, this is really good filament. I don't even see that. So that's what made me question that, along with their lack of good quality printers that they had before, which they only had two. Then they removed one off the website, and then they left the one that didn't have any reviews on it. And then they had a resin printer that was almost $2,000 that had 0 reviews, which looked like trash. So I don't know. Zombie says, proven companies, no problem, but companies I don't know, nah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, Zombie. It just... School says you can put some thermite in that for sure. You can heat the chamber. Boom! We'll heat it up. But that's when I was in the market for a larger build area printer. And then that's why I ended up going for the Creality K2 Plus. And then a funny story about that, you got a lot of people complaining about the K2 Plus and how it was damaged, it wasn't working, they had a lot of problems and so on and so forth. And I was really hesitant. But then when I was doing research on the reviews of the K2 Plus, since I live in Korea, not one problem. Not one dead on arrival, not one damaged printer. Same thing in Japan. And I was like, I've been to Japan and I know some people that live in Japan, and the delivery people in Japan and in Korea, they're so better than the delivery people in the United States. I worked at a UPS facility, the big brown trucks going around, and I've seen big heavy boxes being flipped over and over where it says this side up. You got the little driver that weighs like $120, and how is she getting that stuff out of the truck? She's kicking it out of the truck. I've seen big heavy items being rolled off, platforms, the whole 9 yards. It's just, we've all seen the videos. Here in Korea, not one problem with the K2 Plus. Not one bad review. And so I was like, because the delivery people here are kind of like contracted out, and reviews are huge here. And if you get bad reviews, they'll replace you. The box on my K2 Plus was pristine. It's like it just came out of the factory. Had a little bit of stuff on the top where obviously a box was, a couple of boxes were set on top. But it was the best conditioned box I have ever gotten delivered in my life. And it weighed over 100 pounds. So little tiny Korean guy that brought it up, he didn't roll it out of his truck. They had the little lift thing and everything. And I think a lot of the problems that came with the K2 Plus is the delivery of those things and how the delivery people mishandled those. And you're talking a huge box that weighs 100 and 110 pounds. I mean, I could lift up the box, but it was awkward. I'm 6'2", 260 pounds, and I work out. So you can imagine somebody that doesn't work out, how it's going to roll over from end to end or whatever. It's going to get drops. It was the packaging. The packaging on the K2 Plus, I thought maybe that was lacking because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, my box was damaged." No, that box must have just fell from a great height because the packaging was incredible. That's all I'm saying. So, let's see. Nothing like printing with the Hindenburg, referencing the thermite that Sko was talking about. Yeah, that would do something. Zombie says, I backed a Kickstarter a couple months ago, but that was the lat gun chip from Hasbro. Oh, okay. I did one too. I did a couple. One of them came through, one of them didn't, and I'm still waiting for one now, which is like an ultrasonic cutter. I'm still waiting for that. So George says, don't buy electronics at Walmart. Yeah, I had a buddy who worked at Walmart. Yeah. Unless If it's big and bulky, probably not. But if it's the smaller stuff, you'll be okay. But excuse me. But yeah, but now you can get everything online, yet you don't have to. Amazon, case in point. If something is dead on arrival as far as electronics, boom, you send it back. It's a little bit different now. Being here in Korea, the return policy is going to take more time. The delivery takes a week and a half to 2 weeks, but and I'm depending on the price of the item, I might have to pay an import tax or fee or VAT or something like that. But for the most part, it's not bad. It's not bad. I can still get my Amazon fix here with free shipping, as long as it's over $50. So that works out good. Let's see, what other stuff has pissed me off? Creality pissed me off because when I was searching and researching for printers back in the day, they had their, what was it, the K1C or the K1, whatever it was, that promised the all-metal extruder system. And then they sent it out to reviewers, and the reviewers took apart the hot end and found out that it wasn't all metal. But the claims on their website said, all metal, 10,000 hours, clog-free. Well, it's not all metal, so where did you get that 10,000 clog-free hours? I did a big video on that, and I sent it out, and I emailed Creality back then, and it was like, hey, what's the deal? How can you say, did you test it to see that you got the 10,000 clog-free hours with the all-metal extruder that you said was all metal, that your own reviewers found out was not all metal? So is it still 10,000 clog-free hours? And then it was only after then that they took that off of their main website. They still had it on their Amazon page. And so I'm like, hey, it's still up on your Amazon page. And yeah, it didn't go down for a long time. And then apparently some other people contacted me and said that they contacted Creality, pointed out the same problem. It's not all metal. Why is this 10,000 clog-free hours thing still there? And then finally, months and months later, they actually took that off. So yeah, I wasn't real. That's why I was so on the fence with Creality with the K2 Plus. I was really hesitant because I was like, they seem pretty liberal with the claims that they make, and so that's why I was kind of hesitant with the K2 Plus. But I decided to take the gamble, and the K2 Plus has been doing pretty good. We got some good prints. I just need to clean my build plate. But yeah, the whole thing came out nice. We'll do a little bit of color on there, and we will be good to go. So anyway, that's what we got going on. I think what we're going to end up doing is we're going to close out this video. If you could do me a favor, everybody, like the video and subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out the most. If you want to contact me, of course, you have the email address that is right there. I'll answer anybody. Matter of fact, we got, no, that was somebody else. Yeah, showing me pictures of builds that they do, things that they make, the cosplay, 3D printing, painting, whatever it is, or even their barbecue. People have sent me pictures and stuff like that. So I really like seeing all that stuff. It's a kind of a cool thing. These people over here have bought me coffee. If you want to do that, that's the thing. But absolutely, the best thing that you could do is like the video. That would help me out the most. So don't worry about the coffee. I've got coffee covered. But I also do videos on being an expat over here in Korea. So there's that, painting miniatures, getting into the cosplay thing. And hopefully, like some of you mentioned, I'll contact some more of these companies again and see if maybe I can get some printers. That would be cool. I would love to do printer reviews. So, and give the skinny on what I think is good, bad, and indifferent. So, yeah, that would be fun. I would like to do that. So anyway, we're going to finish this up. If you've got any ideas, put it in the comment section down below. I'll check those out a little bit later. The wife came back from yoga, so now I think we're going to go out and get something to eat and, yeah, kind of have a late breakfast. And we'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Yeah, that's it. We're done. We're done. Yeah, we're done.